Hello guys and welcome to the Traitors New Zealand ranking, and today we are going to be jumping in to ranking every single one of the New Zealand 2 cast members, and I have to say there is a lot to talk about. This was an absolutely incredible game to watch. It was thrilling, it was exciting, there were twists, there were turns, there were so many amazing moments, and I have to say I am here for it. I genuinely loved it. I had a great time watching it, and now we're here to rank it. You know the drill, guys. After every season I do a ranking, and it is of course the definitive ranking because no one should disagree with me. Am I right? No, I'm joking. But anyway, if you want to let me know your thoughts and feelings down in the comment section, make sure to be respectful. Obviously, this is my opinion, this is your opinion, we can agree to disagree, okay? No hate, but we're gonna have a fun time. Let's get into the ranking. So we're going to start with 3 players that I guess have to go in the not enough time category. We're going to put Janae, Wiramu and Terry in the not enough time category. I mean, let's start with Janae. Janae was a very unfortunate case of first person murdered on the first night. I personally feel like the game should always have a banishment before a murder. I feel like it would just be so interesting to just go off vibes. Just have them spend a day together and just see what chaos unfolds. I always feel like murdering someone first night is always unfortunate, and it puts the person who went out at such a disadvantage because they're like, fuck, I didn't even get to play. I didn't even get to sit around that round table and debate and try and accuse somebody because I was just taken out straight away. I always think it's unfair, and unfortunately Janae got that edit and that position in the game. Then we got Terry. Terry was actually a very switched on person. He immediately clocked. In fact, do you know what? No, I can't put him any higher because I can't put him in Meg Got Lucky and he wasn't in it long enough for a strong game. I think Terry could have had an incredibly strong game had he survived that first round table. He immediately called out Jane because of her drinking water, which admittedly was not the best reason for calling somebody out to be a traitor. However, the nervousness that she was exhibiting was definitely part of being a traitor, and he picked up on that and he ran with it. Unfortunately, the rest of the table did not agree with him, and unfortunately, he was first person out. It's a shame at the round table when that happens, but you know what it is what it is. Wiramu, don't think I heard this man talk once. I have to be honest. I cannot tell you a single thing about him. I just didn't get enough time to know him, and therefore, it's a shame. But you gotta go. You gotta go at the end of the day. Now, next up, we have Jackie. And I can't disrespect her. So, I have to put her in Legendary. Even though she played a very poor game, I feel like they got her out on a technicality. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it was very close between her and Molly. And if I'm fairly certain, let me just double check my notes. But it was very close. Yeah, Jackie 5, Molly 5. And then it was only Whitney choosing to get rid of Jackie that took her out of the game. Otherwise, it would have been another tie vote. You've got to have some kind of respect for the gameplay of someone who can force a tie vote and then force potentially another tie vote, and it's only the traitors themselves that have to take her out of the game. That's quite impressive at the end of the day. However, I am just putting her here because I don't like to speak ill of the dead. She is an icon, obviously, but she's not iconic. Nah, she is. We can put her up in iconic. Yeah, we'll put her up in iconic because I don't think she quite deserves legendary. But Jackie was my queen. I loved her. She just had such positive vibes, good energy, and I did genuinely like her. So you know what, Jackie, absolute icon. We dearly miss you, and it's a shame. It's a really shame, but yeah. Anyway, moving on, we have Andrew. Okay, I'm gonna put Andrew in the meh got lucky stage purely because Andrew didn't play an amazing game because the person that he knew was a traitor, Jackie, went out early and he ended up voting for her. I think. I'm fairly certain that he did. Let me just double check my notes. Where is Andrew's name? Andrew voted for Null, and then Andrew voted for Molly in the redo. So he was trying to keep Jack in the game. My bad. But I don't feel like he put up enough of a defense for her if he wanted her to stay in a game. I get that it would tank his game if she was found out to be a traitor, but equally his game was tanked as soon as he was picked to go on death row. Do you know what I mean? So the whole thing was horrendous. He picked Null as an easy scapegoat, and I didn't appreciate the way that he spoke to Null around that round table. You're going to hear that a lot from me in this episode, but Null got a particularly rough ride of it. And I have to say that as much as Andrew tried to do something that is a smart gameplay strategy, which is keeping a traitor around, we saw much more successful instances of that in this series. And unfortunately, Andrew didn't defend himself well enough around that round table, and he went home. So I'm going to put him in the meh side rather than the got lucky. I don't think he got lucky at all. I think it was more of a meh kind of thing. Next up, we have Bri. Bri was the bringer of chaos. Don't get me wrong. Loved her. Thought she was incredibly funny. Thought she was entertaining to the point of, I genuinely want you to stay in this game just so you can cause more chaos. However, she got murdered because she was put on death row, and Noel had more of a target on his back, so therefore she was the easy pick. I think she was a poor player in the sense of people were so suspicious of her because she was just throwing out random bullshit. She'd just randomly accuse someone of something and then have no evidence to back it up with. And you'd be sat there like, what is she doing? Like, actually, what is she doing here? I think that she tried to be that sort of chaotic, neutral character. And I always feel like you need those kind of roles in this kind of game. The ones that are here to just cause chaos, distract everyone from what's going on. And it's almost like their goal to get voted out. Almost like a jester role. I feel like that would be a really cool implement to this kind of game. Add just different like factions in, have a neutral role in there that's neither traitor nor faithful, but is striving to complete their own game. I feel like that would be very interesting. But unfortunately, Bri, you just didn't make any good calls, I don't think. So, you know what? Let me just double check the Jackie vote, because that was the only vote you were in. No, you did vote for Jackie. And then you voted for Molly again. So you voted for Jackie the first time, and then you re-voted for Molly. So that didn't quite make sense to me. But anyway, moving on. Next person is Whitney. I personally think Whitney had a strong game going. I think she had an incredibly strong game going. And the only reason why she was taken out is because she was surprised by Mike. And it wasn't even a surprise ambush of, not Mike. No, it is Mike. It wasn't Mark. It was Mike. God, why is there a Mike and a Mark on the same series? That is so confusing. But the reason why Mike went after her was because she didn't correctly identify an organ. And she's meant to be a mortician. Or not a mortician, an undertaker. I don't know particularly much about undertakers, but I'm fairly certain that they receive bodies and prepare bodies. They don't dig into organs. I'm fairly certain that that is the case. I could be wrong. Don't get me wrong. I could be very wrong. I don't know. But I'm fairly certain that if Whitney was just like, I'm an undertaker, I don't deal with like insides of bodies. How am I meant to know what a cow's lung feels like? Honestly. And I feel like that was the most bullshit reason for getting her out of the game. And it was only the fact that she was so flustered by this random ass ambush that it meant that she kind of went off the deep end and was like, fuck, I don't know what to do now. So I feel bad for her. I think she would have made it a lot further in the game had Mike not launched that ambush on her. But equally, we will never know. She lasted 4 or 5 episodes, I think, and then she was taken out brutally. So, you know what? It's a tough break, but it is what it is. But I think she did play a strong game nonetheless. In the time that she was in there, she was just surprised, ambushed, and taken out of the game. And sometimes it's those small things that get you. And sometimes it's ridiculously trivial things. Up next, we have... Oh, I don't remember her name. Brittany. Was it Brittany? Brittany. Yeah, Brittany. I would put her at the end of strong game. She correctly identified that Jackie was a traitor. She correctly identified that Whitney was a traitor. I think I have to give her some kind of credit where credit is due. As much as I found her to be quite a snivelling character, not to be mean to her, but she came across as quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Just, yeah, snivelly, I would say. And I also hated the fact that she was like, I swear on my children's lives I'm a faithful, because she is a faithful. I had this discussion in the actual episode when I talked about it, and people were like, oh, well, Danielle did that on Traitors and you had no problem with that. But Danielle was lying. She was using that manipulatively as a ploy to make people believe she was a faithful when she wasn't. Whereas Brittany is using it as a emotional ploy to strong arm people into believing that she is a faithful when she is a faithful. It's almost like a game break thing. If people don't want to believe her, that's up to them. But most people will believe you when you say XYZ. So Danielle was using it as a, well, I know people are going to believe me, so they'll think I'm a faithful, and I can betray them then and get them out, and they won't believe I'm a traitor. Whereas Brittany was using it as, well, they're going to believe I'm a faithful now, because why would I lie on my kids' lives? Do you see the difference? I think there's a very, very distinct difference. I don't think you should use it in general, but I think there is a distinct difference between lying on children's lives and actually swearing on them and being genuinely honest about it, because then that's a bit of a game breaking function. So up next was Steven. I mean, I can't really put him any higher than this. I don't really know a lot about him. He kind of fumbled his table when he got voted out. I don't think it was like as clean cut as everybody was saying it was, but they all voted him out unanimously, and I was like, why? This guy's done nothing to you guys. All he did was just question, shall we have safety for tonight? Shall we do that and just let somebody get murdered? Like, I don't understand what the issue was personally, because the banishment, they still got a faithful out. So either way, they would have lost, you know what I mean? So I feel like that was a little bit of bullshit. But Steven, I ain't got anything else to say about you, mate. So sorry, it is what it is. Mike, I am going to dead ass put him down there in poor player. I think you have to play a very ballsy game as a traitor to want to take out your other traitors so early on. Okay? It is a ridiculous move to take out another traitor that early on and be so outspoken about it. If you look back at, for example, I think it was US2, there were, not US2, UK2, Harry took out Paul. Harry took Paul out, right? Took him out of the game. However, he did it with the backing of a lot of other people in the room that already had their suspicions, and he was making sure that he was vocal at other round tables. He spoke, he gave evidence, he made sure that he was a constant presence at the table so that when he inevitably did turn on somebody, it didn't come out of the blue. Mike didn't do that. Mike was quiet. It's Whitney, guys. It's Whitney. Oh, she's a traitor and now she's out of the game. Do you see the difference? Do you see the difference between being present at every round table, at least saying something, putting your 2 pence in, and then taking out a traitor in episode, I think it was 7, he took Paul out. Whereas Whitney was taken out in episode 4 or 5, I want to say episode 5. And Mike had not spoken at the round table that much. I would say 2 sentences, maybe 3 in its entirety. And even then, that day, he had a massive personality shift, which made people believe that he was a traitor. And then people were like, well, we need to get him out. And he managed to survive 1 round table when the pressure was on him. But then the next one, they were like, bye-bye. Here's the door. See you later. I just think he played the game poorly because he didn't seem to have a game plan beyond getting Whitney out. He just thought that that would make me the traitor saver, or the traitor getter outer, the traitor slayer, or whatever. And it didn't, because people immediately start going, why did he gun so hard after her? If you're going to do that, make sure that everybody is piling on the person and you join in. Because I think that's pretty much what Harry did with Paul. There were other people who were bringing up the fact that Paul was a traitor, and then Harry was like, yeah, actually, here's my opinion on this. I'm going to swoop him for the kill. And he did. That's why it worked for him. Anyway, up next, we have Mark. Mark is a very, very tricky person to place because I think he played a good game. However, I can't forgive somebody for willingly taking themselves out of the game. Do you know what I mean? I think that that is a bit of a poor move. However, on the flip side, him taking himself out of the game proving to everybody else he was a faithful when everybody believed all along that he was a traitor, probably means that I need to put him at the top of strong game. Purely because not only did his exit facilitate Jane's exit, but it also gave a lot of information to the other faithfuls in his demise. And I think it was also a bit of a power move as well. He was constantly targeted by people believing that he was faithful or a bad faithful or a traitor. And I felt bad for him, but he also didn't help himself. There were moments where he put his foot in it and he didn't make the best choice for the group. And I feel like that's just somebody getting overexcited. Sitting at the round table and just smiling constantly, that is crazy moves. And I can't lie, I couldn't be as brazen and as bold as that. But you know what? I think that he played a good game. But someone that I think played a better game and was tanked by his no. And I have to say, I'm really upset that that happened. Because Jane went 7 episodes. She was in the first round table. She was the prime suspect. And she managed to talk her way out of it. And then nobody brought up her name until he died. Until Mark died. And I still think to this day, she shouldn't have picked him. She should have picked Utah. Wait, did Utah have a shield that night? Utah might have had a shield that night. I might be wrong. Oh, yeah, because he went after Mike. That's why he was so brazen. Okay, my bad. I think she should have gone after somebody else, personally. I really think she should have. Because Jane, in picking Mark, sealed her fate. And that was a shame. It was just that split moment that fucked her game up. And then the next day, because she knew about the note, it kind of messed her up a little bit. So I think she had a strong game. I don't think I can put her in Legendary because it wasn't a great game. But equally, she did play a good game. And I have to give her credit where credit's due after all. Next up, we have Utah. I'm going to put Utah in Legendary. I think Utah, unfortunately, played the game in a way where he was target number 1 for the Traitors. However, I also feel like they wouldn't have gotten rid of him if Bailey hadn't picked Ciale. I think the only reason why Ciale picked him is because he knew that Utah wouldn't lead back to him. And that's just unfortunate at the end of the day. I feel like if she had picked Jason to be her traitor buddy or Donna, Utah probably wouldn't have been picked because Utah was good with them. And the thing with this game is, as much as it is a game about deducing who the traitors are, it's also a social game. And Utah had incredible connections with pretty much everybody in the game at that point when he was murdered. He had a good connection with Bailey because they'd gotten Mike out. He had a good connection with the boys, Joe and Jason. And there was someone else in that group. Joe, Jason, and Ciale, obviously. Sorry. And also had a good relationship with Kat. Probably got on well with Donna. He had good connections with people. So if Ciale hadn't been brought in, I think he would have survived a little bit longer. But anyway, I think he played a good game. He got Mike out. He noticed that the Whitney vote was a little bit suspect. I also think that he correctly voted out Jackie. Let me just double check. Yeah, Jackie. Yeah, he voted both times for Jackie. I'm fairly certain he voted for Whitney as well. So, you know what? Fair game. Well done. I was really, really impressed with his gameplay. And I actually think he was a very, very good character to have on the show as well. I thought that he would have gone a couple of times before. But equally, not really much you can do about that. Anyway, moving on. We have Molly. Where do I even put Molly? At the end of Mech Got Lucky? I don't think she's a poor player, but I don't think she's particularly good. I've literally got nothing to say about Molly other than the sort of way she was riding so hard against Null was a little bit gross to me. It just felt a little bit wrong. And I was like, you have no evidence other than you just don't like his vibe. And I felt like that was a bad way to play the game. So, yeah. But equally, I think that you got lucky to make it past that Jackie vote. You could have easily gone out in Jackie's place very early on. So I have to put you in got lucky. Up next, we have Ben. I think Ben played a strong game. And he unfortunately had the sort of the Freddy syndrome of he got made into a traitor and immediately betrayed as a traitor and just couldn't find his way out of this pickle that he was put in. I feel really, really bad for Ben, if I'm being 100% honest. I think he could have gone on to win the game as a faithful, but the fact that he had to go out as a traitor was just particularly unfortunate. And I felt really bad for him because people were accusing him of being a traitor, and he had to go out being a traitor, which is not what people want to do when they've been accused as a traitor the entire game. Oh, God. Can you imagine? That'd be heartbreaking. But I think he played a decent game. He was keeping Jane along for as long as he could because he knew that Jane was a traitor in his heart of hearts, but he liked Jane and he knew that Jane would keep him safe. This is what I was talking about earlier with Andrew. Andrew tried to keep Jackie along for the ride, but didn't do it correctly. But Ben voted out Jane when he realised Jane is going home, whereas Andrew tried to save Jackie, which didn't work out in his favour. So anyway, moving on. Kat. Listen, I hated this woman at the start. I really disliked this woman, but the way that her game changed around halfway through, I was like, this woman is coming with facts. Factological sense. Did she vote out Jackie? Let me have a look at my list. Where are you, Kat? Nope, she voted for Molly, and she voted for Molly again. Honestly, I would have voted for Molly because I didn't get on with her that well. But anyway, Kat was a fantastic person. I didn't like her with the whole Mark situation, but I think she redeemed herself in the following episodes. The way she was helping Noel through his sort of panic attack that he was having was incredible. I just think that she actually is a gem. And also, can we not forget the fact that 10 seconds into Ciale being a traitor, she was like, I think Ciale's the traitor. I think Ciale's the traitor because he's forgotten this conversation that we've had. And genuinely, she was instrumental in being the reason why Jason voted for Ciale to be voted out at the end. So you've got to give her credit where credit's due. She played a fantastic game. She was cut at final 7, okay? She was the last person to be murdered, which is such a shame because if she had survived that murder, I think she would have gone on to win the game. I genuinely think if they hadn't have killed Kat that night, they would have, the Faithful would have won the game because I think Kat would have sussed out Bailey and Ciale. So that's all I'm saying. They had to cut her in order to win the game. Next up was Noel. Damn. I'm going to put Noel in Legendary. I'm going to put him at the top of Legendary. Bro had the toughest ride I've ever seen on a Traitor series. Bro was targeted from like the 3rd round table. As soon as Jackie went, it was Noel. It's Noel. Even the episode before, I'm just looking at my notes. Noel got votes from Ben and Andrew the night before the whole, 3 people are on death row digging graves. That night, he got 2 votes. So from the 2nd round table, he was getting votes. And that is absolutely mental to me. Because he's done nothing wrong. I cannot think of a single suspicious thing that he did in this game that would make people go, this guy's a traitor. And you had people like Donna, who the entire time were like, I think it's Noel. I think it's Noel. And he made it all the way to the 2nd to last round table, okay? Despite having this massive target on his back, with everybody thinking that he was a traitor, he made it all the way to the final 6, to that 2nd to last round table, that penultimate round table, and he put up a valiant effort. The split of votes in that final round table was 4-2, and I just feel bad for him. It was technically 5-2 because Jason decided to use his vote on one person. It was whatever. But anyway, it's just ridiculous to me that they targeted him so much. So I'm rewarding him with Legendary position. Because I also think as much as he wasn't great at getting traitors out, I have to also admit that he was quite misguided. But I think the entire time, the survival that he exhibited, because this game, yeah, it's about finding traitors, yeah, whatever, but it's also about surviving to the end. And he managed to write himself off as a potential murder victim for the entire game. There was not a single moment where anybody went, oh, shall we murder Noel? Because there was no point. He was obviously going to be suspect. But he also survived round table after round table after round table of fighting for his life. And honestly, you've got to give him credit where credit's due. There were so many times where he was like 2nd in the voting. He was like 2nd likely to go home. Mental to me. But anyway, moving on. We have Ciale. I think Ciale played a good game. I think his downfall was the fact that he couldn't remember that conversation with Kat, and it just threw everything out the window. It threw everything and the kitchen sink out of the window, and it was just unfortunate. I think he was an incredibly endearing faithful and an incredibly villainous traitor, and I loved to see those two sides of him because it was so dynamic and it was so entertaining. And I've not really got much else to say about Ciale. I really liked him. He was great, and he played a really, really good game as well. Joe, you're going down in poor player, my friend. My friend, you did not have a single good take the entire game. Not the entire game. Because even when in that that last round table, when he was like, it's Bailey, I was like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's okay. And then when they got around that fire pit and he voted for Jason instead of Bailey, I was like, bro, you've just signed your fate away. You literally just lost the game for you right there and then. Honestly, I was blown away. I was actually blown away by his stupidity. There were so many times where he caused chaos for himself. He voted for himself. I was like, what are you doing, mate? What are you actually doing here? This is absolutely mental. Did I love him? Absolutely. He is such great television. But did he play a good game? Not even slightly. Jason, bro, you're going in legendary. I think you absolutely were on top of your shit the entire game. I didn't talk about it much in the finale, but bro actually had his finger on the pulse for like a good few episodes. I think he knew that Ciale was a traitor from when he became the traitor. I think as soon as Utah died, I think he was like, I think Ciale did that. I have a feeling. But he kept him close. He made sure to keep him on side so that he wasn't a potential murder victim. And then when there was no more murders, bam, suddenly it's time to go after Ciale because there's no threat anymore. He tried to go after Bailey, but Joe fucked it up for him. Honestly, Jason could have easily won this game if he'd have just managed to convince Donna a little bit more. But I think Donna had Bailey's like best intentions and been like, oh, I can't vote out Bailey because Bailey's my girl. Yeah, we all saw how that worked out for her. But anyway, I think Jason played a fantastic game and I got to reward him for that. Donna. Oh, bless you. Oh, bless you. You know when someone is so blinkered by the same person episode after episode after episode and they can't see what's right in front of their eyes, and then they have the cheek and the audacity to ask, who's keeping me in this game? The answer was right in front of you. It was Bailey. Bailey was keeping you in this game because she knew that if she took you to that final two, that final three, you would vote to keep her in the game over somebody else. And you got played. The entire game, you were like, it's Null, guys. It's Null. It's definitely Null. I'm coming into breakfast and I'm definitely suspicious on Null. I'm 100% suspicious on Null. I think it's Null. I definitely think it's Null. There is no doubt in my mind that it's Null. Null goes, guys, I'm a faithful. Oh no, I was wrong the entire game. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I'm sorry, Donna, but I cannot give you any higher than this. I think you're a lovely, lovely person. But you signed your own fate. I'm so sorry. You literally signed away. I'm giving the money to Bailey. It's crazy. As soon as you voted out Noel, that was it. I was like, yeah, game over for you. Game over. And that means Bailey. Listen, I think she played a 10 out of 10 game as a faithful. And I think she played a 10 out of 10 game as a traitor. A lot of people often say, yo, it's not fair to say the best traitor in a series is a recruited traitor. She got recruited halfway through this series, okay? So she was a traitor for half of the series and she was a faithful for half of the series. She managed to defend herself well in the first half of the series when there was heat on her. And she also took out Mike, who was a traitor at the time. Then she becomes a traitor by default. She didn't even pick it. She just got lumbered with this. And what did she do? Ran with it. She ran with it and she won the game because she had a great social game. Nobody believed that little old Bailey could possibly be the traitor. And that's why she was absolutely the best player this series, because she played a great, great faithful game and an even better traitor game. And even Ciale couldn't backstab her with all of his connections in the house. Even he couldn't do it. Even he couldn't get rid of her. Even though he had a 3-person alliance in the finale, That is how good she was. Damn. Well played. Well played. I have to say, I'm very, very impressed with you, Bailey. But that is it for today. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Do all that YouTube stuff that you guys do so well. And we will be back in a couple of weeks for the Traitors Celebrity Edition. I'm excited, and I know you guys are too. So make sure to stick around for that. But until then, make sure to keep on ranting, and I'll see you guys later. Bye now. See ya.